Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of Final Valley. The dark clouds loomed around the valley. Lightning and thunder rained as it showed the scars and destruction of a battle of fate. The battle between Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha over the Uchiha's future in either Konoha or Oto. Upon closer inspection, there was only one person on the field in an unconscious state. It was the very blonde who fought against Sasuke. A small trickle of light was on the face of the blonde shinobi. His clothes were little ripped pieces and his body was covered in bruises from the fight. The most noticeable was the one on his chest, like he'd been struck by something hard. Naruto laid in his unconscious state for a little longer, and before any more time passed, someone came to the ground and looked at the blonde with a mournful expression. "Naruto, you must have fought as hard as you could," the person said. They were wearing the standard Jonin vest for Konoha shinobi. They had white hair and their headband was over their left eye with a small cloth covering their mouth. It was Kakashi Hatake, Jonin sensei to Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Kakashi looked at the damaged part of Naruto's skin and lifted the blonde into his arms. He flung Naruto over his back and shot off for Konoha, but not before looking back in the opposite direction. "Sasuke," Kakashi said to himself before sighing and running off. The white-haired shinobi knew he had to hurry. He could feel Naruto's heartbeat, and it was slowly stopping. "Come on, Naruto. Just last a little longer," Kakashi thought, and narrowed his left eye as he looked at the blonde's face. He could only hope that Naruto would be alright. Kakashi could only imagine if Naruto died. So many people would be sad, and maybe even Tsunade, their Hokage, would spiral into depression again. "Minato-sensei, what would you do if you were holding your son like this?" Kakashi asked in thought. He had no idea of what was happening with Naruto, and how it would shape him to be who he always could be, Naruto's mind. Naruto laid in the emptiness of his mind. His unconscious state was visible to Kyuubi, and the fox grumbled at its container. He offered the blonde power, but he still lost, and his heart was giving out of him. The darkness around Kyuubi was growing more and more, making the bijou curse. "Fading, it's fading, am I going to die?" Kyuubi wondered, and before long a white light appeared in front of him. The Kyuubi narrowed his eyes and growled at the newcomer, but quickly paled when he saw who it was. It was a white spirit with purple arms and a sword in its mouth. "So the kid's finally dead, huh? I must say he was kind of lucky. The damn brat escaped me so many times it wasn't even funny," the figure said, and Kyuubi growled again. "Shinigami," Kyuubi said, and the white-haired figure turned to the Kyuubi. The Shinigami narrowed his eyes, then turned back to Naruto. He took out his sword and traced it over the blonde's form. "What's dead is dead. That means you're next, Kyuubi," the Shinigami said to him. He was about to slash at Naruto and rip the blonde's soul from his body, but turns out that fate was against even the Shinigami. "Sasuke!" Naruto yelled immediately, and shot up, dodging the blade from the Shinigami in one swift move. Kyuubi widened his eyes and the Shinigami raised an eyebrow. This hadn't happened before in all the times the Death God did this. Kyuubi was at least surprised, if not anything else. "Damn it, brat, you sure know how to scare people. I thought I was gonna die because of you for a second," Kyuubi said, and instantly Naruto turned to his unwanted bijou behind its cage. "Furball, what the hell happened?" Naruto asked, making the Kyuubi growl. His container was always a damn smart mouth. It really irritated the fox to no end, but that was a point for another time. "Damn brat. In case you're blind, the Shinigami is right in front of you," Kyuubi said, and immediately Naruto turned his head to see the real thing in front of him. The blonde gulped while the Shinigami looked at him with its menacing glare. "Come on, brat. It's time to die," the Shinigami said, and Naruto immediately stopped paling and his expression changed from one of fear to confusion. "But I'm not dead. Why are you here for me?" Naruto asked, and the Shinigami sighed. This was so much better when someone was actually dead and not all into questions. "Well, you'll be dead in a matter of seconds, so I might as well just stay here and wait for it. I swear, you humans fight over the simplest of things and die by the simplest of methods," the Shinigami said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes at the god. So fighting to save his friend was supposed to be a simple matter? "Well, I don't care if you are the Shinigami or anything else, But I'm not dying till I become Hokage, Naruto yelled, making the Kyuubi grin at its container's disrespect to even the Shinigami. The spirit in question looked at the blonde impassively and sighed. How many people do you think have said that line? I've seen them all. I should just kill you right now rather than wait for your heart to fail. The Jonin that's carrying you isn't gonna make it. You're better off resigning to your fate right now, the Shinigami said, and Naruto stood to his feet, then proceeded to point at the death god. Humph, I don't care what you think. If I say I'm not dying, then I'm not dying. There are too many people counting on me and I've got to save Sasuke. He might be an ass, but I'm gonna bring him back, Naruto said, and the Shinigami rolled its eyes. Kyuubi simply remained silent and let its container talk it out with the Shinigami. You think you have a say in this? When you die, you will die. That's your final destiny. You will see me again if by the slim chance that you do survive this, which you won't. Face it, I'm taking you whether you like it or not, the Shinigami said, and Naruto allowed his blonde hair to cover his eyes. He crossed his fingers and glared at the Shinigami, making his conviction and determination clear in his eyes. Well, you're not taking me without a fight. I told you I won't die. Besides, I'm not so weak that I would lose against someone who babbles on about fate and destiny. I'll make it all my own. I'll decide when I die, and I'll decide my destiny. So if you think your pale, ghostly, stupid Oni mask-wearing face can tell me otherwise, then I dare you to try it, Naruto said, raring to go for a fight. Even if it was small to near non-existent, the Shinigami and Kyuubi found some respect for Naruto. No one had ever threatened the Shinigami before, so this was interesting. The Shinigami looked at the blonde and then he drew his sword back. You really have a mouth, you know. I've got little to no tolerance for you humans and your stupidity, but you're by far the most interesting. No one has talked to me like that before, the Shinigami said, and Naruto took out a kunai from his back pouch. Kyuubi snickered, making the two turn to him. Please, Shinigami, if this brat can call the Hokage old lady and even me furball, then there's no way he's gonna respect you that easily. Hell, I doubt he respects anyone, Kyuubi said, and Shinigami had to agree with him even if the death god didn't voice his agreement. Naruto pouted at Kyuubi's insult and huffed. Hey, I respect a lot of people, Naruto said, making Kyuubi roll his eyes while the Shinigami raised his own. I respect Hokage Jijium and all the Hokages, especially the Yondaime, Naruto said with a sense of pride. Kyuubi narrowed his eyes and so did the Shinigami. Naruto looked at the two for a second before he looked confused. Did I say something wrong? Naruto asked. Kyuubi broke from its stupor, and so did the Shinigami. The death god wasn't sure, but it was getting off its original purpose. Well, anyway, Naruto Uzumaki, your heart's about to stop, so it's time to. I said, and no, I'm not dying before I become Hokage. Do what you want, but I'll beat you to a pulp if you try to stop me, Naruto said. Thought in his head he knew he was insane. This was the freaking Shinigami. He was lucky it didn't kill him already, and now he had more nerve to threaten the god. Either he was very brave or very stupid, maybe it was both, the blonde wasn't sure. What makes you think you'll do anything? All you've said are words. You humans always say one thing and mean the other. You're no different. Don't think I don't know you, brat. I know how your village treats you. I know everything about you from your birth to right now, so what can you do that would make me think that you're any different from any other human? The Shinigami asked. Naruto looked at the ground as he felt the stares of Kyuubi and the Shinigami on him. The blonde, for some reason, could feel his heart growing colder and colder. He was feeling dazed and his vision was fading. You're beginning to fade, brat. In the next few seconds I'll be taking your soul, the Shinigami said. Kyuubi looked at Naruto and wondered what the blonde was going to do. Naruto in the meantime looked at the kunai in his hand and gripped it tightly. Fine, the Shinigami wanted different, then Naruto could very well do different. The blonde raised the kunai in his hands and in a swift motion surprised the Kyuubi and Shinigami when he used it to pierce his chest. Naruto knew that no blood would come from it, but it showed his conviction well enough to the Shinigami, who was downright surprised. This is how I'm different. My heart is different. I never go back on my word or I have nothing. That's my ninja way, Naruto yelled, and the Shinigami narrowed his eyes. If the blonde did that in his conscious state, then there would be no way that he would survive. It's like he just gave his soul to the Shinigami without actually handing it over. All you humans are so stupid, but you're probably the most interesting. Fine then, out of interest I'll let you live. It'll be worth it to see you and your promises, the Shinigami said as it used its sword and struck Naruto in the heart. The blonde gasped at the hit, while the Kyuubi narrowed his eyes at the sight. A small light glowed on Naruto's right hand and before long it settled down as the Shinigami slowly placed Naruto on the ground. What did you do to him? Kyuubi asked and the Shinigami turned to the bijou while putting its sword away. I'm going to keep an eye on him, maybe more than that. I've entered a summoning contract with him. Now I'll get to see how different he is from other humans, the Shinigami said, and Kyuubi widened his eyes while his tails thrashed the caged. But no one's been in a full contract with you. The only other contract was that life-wasting jutsu the Shikifujin, and only a select few people knew that, Kyuubi said and the Shinigami simply shrugged. It doesn't matter. I'll see how far this brat can handle if he's in a contract with me, the Shinigami said then immediately disappeared. Kyuubi raised an eyebrow then looked at its container, and people say I have a knack for causing trouble. The damn brat is a trouble magnet, Kyuubi said with a small chuckle before disappearing into the seal. Konoha hospital room. Naruto opened his eyes hazily, and saw he was inside the hospital. The reason he could tell was because of the weird smell it had. Only a hospital could smell like this. The blonde sighed and rubbed his head. Was that a dream? Naruto wondered while rubbing his head. He immediately winced in pain as he touched his chest. It felt like it was slightly burning for a few minutes, but then it subsided, giving the blonde some peace. Naruto sighed and laid back on the admittedly comfy bed. He then widened his eyes when he saw a seal on his right hand. It wasn't overcomplex, but the blonde never recognized it before. He could at least see that it was for a summoning contract, however that was all he knew. That's this on my right hand? Naruto wondered and immediately his tenant decided to make its presence known. Brat, you really are stubborn, you know that? To challenge the Shinigami is downright insane, Kyuubi said and Naruto widened his eyes. It wasn't a dream. Him almost dying, his meet the Shinigami, him piercing his chest with the kunai. It was all real. That really happened, furball, Naruto said, making the Kyuubi groan. Yes, brat, it did happen, and needless to say, but you did something that almost no one ever did. You actually managed to get a contract with the Shinigami. What he sees in your I don't know, Kyuubi said with a smirk. Naruto pouted at his bijou, but did admit that he had a point. What did the Shinigami want with him anyway? Naruto's thoughts were soon interrupted by a knock on the door, and the blonde turned his attention to it. The door slid open and Naruto saw Sakura appear through the doorway. The blonde immediately frowned and looked at his sheets. Hey Naruto. It's a nice day, let me open the shades for you, Sakura said to him. Naruto didn't say a word as Sakura opened the shades and the window, allowing a cool breeze to flow through. The breeze was a delight to the both of them despite the tense situation. How long was I out? Naruto asked her. Sakura looked out the window and gave him a small smile, while her short hair flapped in the wind. At least 3 to 4 days. We thought you'd never wake up, but you and the others are going to be fine, Sakura said to him. Naruto looked at the sheets and couldn't help but frown a bit more. It was then that the blonde was brought out of his thoughts. Naruto, I'll bring him back, Sakura, Naruto suddenly said, interrupting Sakura, who gave a soft smile. She turned to Naruto, and with her finest smile she tried to seem at least happy that he and the others were back alive. It's alright, Naruto. I'm gonna train and get stronger so I don't leave you and Sasuke behind anymore. We'll get Sasuke-kun back together, she said, and Naruto grinned at that. The blonde immediately nodded in agreement with her, and gave her a thumbs up. You got it, Sakura, Naruto said, and it was then that the pink-haired Kunoichi looked at the seal marking on his right hand. She stared at the marking for a bit before turning to Naruto. Hey Naruto, what's that seal on your right hand? Sakura asked. Naruto looked at his arm and immediately widened his eyes. He had forgotten about it for a second, and quickly racked his brain about what to tell her. There was no way she would believe that it was from the Shinigami, or that Naruto met the Shinigami at all. Amaro Sanin drew this for myself. It's supposed to be a good chakra storage seal, Naruto said, and Sakura gazed at the seal on his hand for a bit longer before nodding and walked off. Alright then. I guess I'll see you later then, Sakura said to him. Naruto nodded with his usual smile, and watched Sakura leave. Naruto sighed and looked at the seal on his hand. How do I even have this contract? I already have a contract with the toads, and if I recall, it isn't possible to have two contracts at once, Naruto said, and Kyuubi nodded with his knowledge of that at least. That's true, brat. I don't really know why that is, but since you have this contract, only two things can happen. Either you have both, or the Shinigami disbanded your contract with the toads and made his own, Kyuubi said, and Naruto sighed again. He seemed to be doing that a lot today. Alright, I guess I'll try it out, Naruto said and bit his thumb. He went through the required hand signs and slammed his right hand. Kuchios no Jutsu, Naruto yelled, and his right hand glowed slightly. It faded after a while, and Naruto looked around the room, but didn't see any sight of the Shinigami at all. Is this some kind of joke? Naruto asked while wondering if the Shinigami had a sense of humor. I don't take things lightly, nor do I have a sense of humor that I know of. I didn't expect you to summon me so fast though, the Shinigami said from behind Naruto. The blonde gasped, and immediately turned his head to see the death god right behind him. Naruto leaped out of the bed and pointed his finger at the god. Why, you're here, I really have a contract with you? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami nodded. That's right. You're the first human to have a full contract with me. The only ones who had an imperfect contract with me were the Sandaime and Yondaime from your village. And I take it you have questions, so let's get them over with, the Shinigami said, and Naruto nodded before sitting back on his bed with his arms and legs crossed. I'm alright. Where did this contract come from? Naruto asked. The Shinigami sighed and pointed to Naruto's head. When we were talking in your mind. Remember when I said you were the most interesting person to me? I take a general interest in things that are interesting to me, so I'm keeping an eye out for you, and what better way than a summoned contract, the death god said, and Naruto nodded with him. Alright, thanks, I guess. So does that mean that my contract with the toads ended? Naruto asked his newest summon. The Shinigami shook its head and pulled out some beads that were on its hand. No, the contract I have with you is one that the other summons don't know about and never will. You can continue to use the toads at your leisure, but our contract is more than that, the Shinigami said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why? No, I mean how? Naruto asked, making the Shinigami chuckle slightly. As you know, I'm the Shinigami, the ruler over the living and the dead. If you summon me like the Yondaime or Sandaime did, then I would have to take your soul as compensation. But since you're my first summon, then I'm going to set the normal conditions. For now, you are only allowed to summon me twice a day. Second, whenever you summon me, I won't take your soul since we have a contract, the Shinigami told Naruto. All this information was burned into the blonde's mind, and he immediately agreed. He could only imagine if people thought he could summon the Shinigami. It would be mass chaos. The third condition is more to your benefit depending on how you use it, the Shinigami said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. He was getting excited, but that was to be expected of the first real summoner to the Shinigami. Alright, so what is this final condition or benefit? Naruto asked in a hurry. The Shinigami sighed, as it had to remember that it was dealing with a 13-year-old boy, so it wasn't abnormal that he would be excited, though the thought of being someone's summon was sort of interesting to the Shinigami, even if it didn't show it completely. Alright, since you know I'm the Shinigami, it's sort of a benefit if you could call it that. Since I rule the dead, you're allowed to bring people back to life if you want to, the Shinigami said, making Naruto widen his eyes and drop his jaw. He could nearly faint from that information. I can revive anyone I want? That's awesome, Databayo, Naruto said, forgetting his injuries and jumping up and down the room. The Shinigami sighed and its eyebrow twitched. I'm not done with it. This has two parts to it, so pay attention, the Shinigami said, and Naruto nodded, calming down enough to hear the rest of what the Shinigami had to say to him. While you can revive anyone you want, I still have to be the Shinigami, and just allowing you to bring back people would bring disorder to the realm of the dead. So on that note, for every person you revive you must kill 2 people. One to fill the empty space, and the second as a sort of interest payment to me, the Shinigami told him. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the last part. But you're the Shinigami, why do you need more souls when you probably have millions of them already? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami nodded. It's like I said. It would cause disorder in the realm of the dead, Naruto Uzumaki. Humans, animals, and other things going there is fine because when you die I take you there, but leaving is a completely different matter. No one has ever left my realm, and for good reason that I can't go into right now, the Shinigami said, and Naruto nodding, feeling that some secrecy must have been needed. He wasn't really sure that he wanted to know the consequences. So anything else I need to know? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami stared at him for a second, most likely in thought rather than plain looking. He then focused on the blonde some more and nodded. Last thing is that people like the Sandame and Yandame who used the imperfect contract with me can't be revived no matter what. That's the price they pay for using that jutsu. Their souls are held within this pot right here to never be let out again, the Shinigami said, and Naruto looked at it in awe and slight sadness. In there was his admiration, the Yandame, and his surrogate grandfather, Sarutobi Hiruzen. The blonde felt so close to them, but so far away. It really made him sad, but for some reason it wasn't as lasting as the blonde thought. Alright, just one last question, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded at its summoner. Alright, what is it? The Shinigami asked, and Naruto pointed to himself, making his summon raise an eyebrow. Why me? I mean, why did you choose me to be your summoner? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami had to chuckle. Maybe it was from Naruto's embarrassment of being the summoner to him, or for his own entertainment, the summon wasn't sure. I said it's because you interest me. You're the first person to threaten me of all beings. You're also the first person who had woken up before I could take your soul. Not to mention that even though it didn't hurt, you pierced your chest with that kunai to show how serious to me you were. I think that warrants enough of my interest in you, so like I said, I keep my eye on interesting things, and this is the best way, the Shinigami said, and Naruto nodded. His life just got better, he figured. Alright, I think I understand everything. So I can only summon you twice a day. Unlike those with the imperfect contract, you won't take my soul if I do summon you. And I can revive anyone from the dead so long as I pay back 2 people. Lastly, I can't bring those back who have used you in the imperfect contract, the Shiki Fujin thing that the fur ball was talking about, right? Naruto asked. The Shinigami nodded in a complete affirmative, and the blonde grinned. Alright then. I don't know what I can do, but I will be a great summoner to you, Shinigami. Is there anything else I can call you? Do you have a name? Naruto asked. The Shinigami raised an eyebrow and shook his head. Naruto sighed and rubbed the back of his head while wincing at the pain in his body. Then I guess I'll call you Shin, which should be short for Shinigami. Is that alright? Naruto asked. The Shinigami shrugged it off and said it didn't matter to the death god at all. Naruto seemed okay with it and nodded. Alright then, Shin it is, Naruto said, and the Shinigami began to fade. Oh, and just so you know, I recommend that you mix your attire slightly. You stick out too much in that orange thing, Shin said before Naruto gritted his teeth. Orange is cool, Naruto yelled, and immediately he turned to see next to him looking at him like he was insane. Who are you talking to, Gaki? A white-haired man asked. Naruto turned to him and blushed in embarrassment. Oh, I was thinking out loud, is all Arrow Sannin. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, leaning up from his bed. The man gritted his teeth and pointed at the blonde. I'm not Arrow Sannin, I'm the Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku. The women swoon when they hear my name. I am Jiraiya the Toad Sage, the man said, and Naruto sighed at his teacher. He always was weird to the blonde and he would never be any different, but Naruto went with it. Yo, whatever, Arrow Sannin, so what do you want again? Naruto asked him. Jiraiya pouted, then grumbled about young people and disrespect to their elders, but then he got serious. Fine, I'll make this quick then. You're going on a 2-year training trip with me. It's time I taught you more, and since you're in the village I'm not around much. But it's a different story if I'm with you, Jiraiya said, and Naruto's eyes gleamed. He instantly smiled, but it lessened when he saw Jiraiya's serious face. But before you go, I'm gonna tell you this now. Give up on Sasuke. He made his choice and nothing will change that. He's a traitor who hurt his friends, his comrades, and went to Orochimaru for power. If you pursue Sasuke, then you are only doing a fool's errand, Jiraiya said, and Naruto looked at the sheets. The blonde narrowed his eyes and he looked at the seal on his right hand. He then touched the seal on his stomach and grinned. Well then, I'll take the fool's errand. To either be wise and have no friends or be a fool with lots of friends, I'll be the fool my entire life. I'll do amazing things on my own. I know Shin will help me, Naruto said, making Jiraiya raise an eyebrow while the blonde cursed. Who's Shin? Jiraiya asked, and Naruto gulped for a second. Sorry, different thought, but you get my point. I'm completely serious, Naruto said, and Jiraiya sighed while jumping off the window ledge. The thought of an idiot like you trying to do things on his own is downright stupid, and I'll be lucky if you don't meet the Shinigami too early, Jiraiya said. Naruto chuckled hesitantly while he looked at his right hand. You've got no idea, Ero Sennin, Naruto thought with a grin. If you're this set on being a fool, then I'll just make sure you have the tools to make this foolish errand. Pack your things. We've got things to take care of right now, Jiraiya said, then shined out the window. Naruto stayed in his bed and grinned. He laid his head on the pillow and looked back at the seal on his right hand. The first Shinigami summoner. How cool is that database? Naruto thought, and before long he went to sleep. It was then that the Shinigami, Shin, appeared and looked at his blonde summoner. Hee hee, a fool's errand, huh? Well, the fools are the most interesting. Looks like I'll get to see something really good, Shin said before finally disappearing. Naruto had no idea what was in store with him and his life. Naruto was finally released from the hospital with Tsunade's approval and immediately went to his apartment. Jiraiya told him that they would be leaving the next day, so that would be enough time for Naruto to tie up any loose ends he had. The blonde had said goodbye to all his friends in that week and told them that he would get stronger in no time. Everyone seemed sad about Naruto leaving, especially Hinata, but they knew that they would see him again. Currently, Naruto was packing his bags full of essentials for his trip. But if one looked close enough, they would see that the blonde wasn't entirely focused on packing, but more or less what he could do as the Shinigami's summoner. Those conditions that Naruto knew about had occupied his mind for that entire week. He thought about all the good it could do him to revive people as well as have someone as powerful as the Shinigami. The blonde knew, however, that this was a delicate situation. He might have been dumb and clueless at times, but he was far from stupid. He knew that something like this would be impossible to explain to anyone, especially Tsunade and Jiraiya. If word found out about this, then there would be so many problems that it wasn't even funny. The blonde imagined all the happy faces people would have from loved ones and things like that. But what would they do if he said no to them? Would they force him to do it? Would he be deemed a traitor for him helping his village? Aren't you overthinking this a bit? His tenant asked, making its presence known. Naruto broke from his thought and continued packing. It wasn't like he wanted to overthink something like this, but the whole situation made it that way. It's not that, I guess. I've just never felt so responsible before. This is heavy, furball. I guess I'm glad that Shin's interested in me, but I can only wonder about the good I can do with him, Naruto said, and Kyuubi allowed its tails to thrash around for a bit out of boredom. If it was me, I'd immediately just revive the closet thing to me and kill all of you for compensation, Kyuubi said with a sly grin. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked up at the ceiling. And that's why you're stuck in there in the first place, Naruto said, bringing Kyuubi's mood down and making the fox growl at him. The blonde chuckled at his tenant and looked at his room. His lonely room that hadn't been in the best of shape. He always tried to keep it clean, but he had always been training, so there wasn't much of a full use for it besides sleep. It was then that Naruto remembered when Shin said that he could revive anyone, and at the time, Naruto immediately thought about his parents. They were the first thing that popped in his head when he heard that. He wondered what it would be like to see his mother, his father, to hold them and see their smiles on his face, but he wondered if he were disrespecting them by wanting to that wish. He also wondered what it would be like for others. How Gaara and his siblings would feel, Hinata and her mother, Neji and his father. Even Sasuke and his family. He could just see Sasuke shocked at the thought of his parents being alive. It all sounded like a good idea, but then there was the second part of the condition. He had to kill 2 people for every 1 person he revived. One to fill the void of the revived soul, and the second as a payment to the Shinigami. Don't tell me you're scared of killing someone, brat. In your line of work, the fact that you haven't really killed anyone yet is amazing. Time to grow up and see how the world works, brat, Kyuubi said, and Naruto looked at the ground. He wanted to argue that against Kyuubi, but he knew that the fur ball was right. Naruto didn't have the experience that went with killing someone. He had seen deaths before that ranged from Haku and Zabuza to his Jiji. It wasn't a pleasant experience, and the thought of Naruto doing that was felt ridiculous. I suppose, Naruto said as he finished the last of his packing and got to his bed. He put on his pajamas and went to sleep, leaving his thoughts behind for the next morning. Next morning, Naruto groggily woke up and rubbed his eyes from the intense sunlight. The blonde yawned and got out of bed. It was a terrible night. He barely got any sleep at all. The blonde had been thinking all night, but now was the time to get ready. Naruto got to his feet and quickly took a shower. He felt revived from the feeling of hot water on his body and watched it trickle down his form. His spiky hair fell down and covered his face while the blonde leaned on the wall. He stayed in the shower for about 20 minutes before getting out and wrapping a towel over his waist. He came up to his closet and saw the last of his orange jumpsuit and snorted. Why'd he have to tell me to change my attire? I like orange, Naruto said to himself, and Kyubi rolled his eyes at his container. Are you kidding? You stick out like a sore thumb in that thing. I'll admit that orange goes well with certain colors, but it's not good being the dominant color. Shinigami nailed it right on the head, Kyubi said, making Naruto growl. The whole world was against him wearing orange. It wasn't that bad of a color, was it? Naruto sighed and decided to put on his signature jumpsuit and grabbed his bag, scrolls and ninja tools for his trip with Jiraiya. He was excited at the thought of getting stronger. He really wanted to bring Sasuke back to Konoha, but the blonde knew that he had his own dreams and ambitions. That wouldn't change for him. He would be more than happy to bring the Uchiha back to his village, but he wouldn't obsess over it. He wouldn't be like Sasuke and have a simple one-track mind. Having grabbed all of his things, Naruto closed the door to his apartment, which wouldn't be opened for the next 2 years, and walked down the stairs. He quickly made it to the streets of Konoha and looked at the various people bustling around. He looked at all the sights and took them to memory since he knew he wouldn't be back for a bit. I'm gonna miss this place, Naruto said, coming up to the gates of Konoha. The blonde saw Jiraiya waiting for him near the gates along with Tsunade, Shizen, and Kakashi. Good morning, Naruto said, and Jiraiya leaned up from the wall his was leaning against. Gaki, you're early, Jiraiya said, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. He figured that they should just go and get walking. There was no more use in staying in Konoha anymore, so he just decided to follow Jiraiya out of the village. Yeah, I guess I'm just excited, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Jiraiya chuckled with a nod while Shizen and Kakashi grinned. Tsunade walked up to Naruto and placed her hand on his shoulder. Come back, brat. It's gonna be boring without you, Tsunade said, and before Naruto could respond she grabbed him into a fierce, but kind hug. Naruto hugged her back and stepped away. I will, Tsunade Bachan. Just keep that Hokage seat warm for me until I get back, Naruto said, making Tsunade's eyebrow twitch. She proceeded to grab his cheeks and squeeze them hard. You really have a mouth, you know that, Tsunade said while Naruto yelled out in pain. She finally let go and Naruto rubbed his cheek while sticking his tongue out at her. Tsunade glared at Naruto and simply waved it off. She had no idea what made her think she would miss Naruto, but the truth was that she would. She really couldn't wait till he got back. It would be amazing to see how much he would grow. Take care, Naruto-kun, Shizen said, giving Naruto a softer hug. Naruto grinned with a nod and came up to Kakashi. The Jonin was still reading his book, but patted Naruto on the shoulder. You're not a kid anymore, Naruto. Come back stronger than you are now, Jiraiya said to him and lowered his book, which showed an eye smile to the blonde. Naruto nodded and was about ready to go. He turned to Jiraiya and the Toad Sage smiled at him. Come on, Naruto. We've got to get moving, Jiraiya said before Naruto raised an eyebrow. I thought you said I was early, Naruto said, and Jiraiya shrugged his shoulders. No use spending time here. I already have our first destination in mind, so let's go. We've got a lot of ground to cover, Jiraiya said, walking past the gates. Naruto nodded and immediately the two set off away from the village. Naruto turned back to look at Konoha one last time and sighed before moving back with Jiraiya. He's gonna be a headache when he gets back, Tsunade said, and Kakashi had to nod in agreement with her. Shizen merely smiled and walked back to the Hokage mansion. Tsunade walked back with her and Kakashi shined out of sight to take care of some other business that he had to deal with. With Jiraiya and Naruto, the master and student duo had been walking for a while now, but much to Jiraiya's surprise the trip was relatively quiet for the most part. Sure, they just started and weren't that far from the village, but he thought Naruto would be bugging the hell out of him with what he would be learning. However, as luck would or wouldn't have it, Naruto was in some deep thought that obviously continued from last night. He wondered about some of the issues that would revolve his life, and while he seemed to like the positive, he wasn't blind to the reality that things could go to hell for him. Naruto still seemed to be off in his own little world. He wasn't even really paying attention to where he was going. Jiraiya had never pegged Naruto for a deep thinker about anything, so this was entirely new to him. Hey brat, we've been traveling for 20 minutes, and you haven't said a word the entire time. What's the matter with you? Jiraiya asked, and immediately Naruto snapped from his thoughts. He hadn't realized that he was thinking so much. Oh sorry Ero Sannin, just thinking about this training that you're going to have me do. I'm gonna learn some killer techniques, right? Naruto asked, making Jiraiya sigh. So that's what it was, or so he believed. Always training with you, eh? Of course I'm gonna teach you something good, but not today. We'll begin first thing tomorrow. You'd better be prepared, brat, Jiraiya said, and Naruto's eyes gleamed in excitement. He could only imagine the great things that he would be able to do after his training was complete. Soon silence reigned with the two again, and Naruto looked at the ground. He seemed confused, or rather uncertain of something. The blonde looked up and turned to his teacher for the next 2 years. Ero Sannin, what was your first kill like? Naruto asked, making the toad sage narrow his eyes at the unusual question. Naruto already was unusual, but to add that question made him even more unusual. Jiraiya turned to see the blonde looking at the ground before he looked back up at the road in front of him. What's with this question? It's not like Yugaki, Jiraiya said, getting a little worried. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and softly smiled, but the look in his eyes told Jiraiya that the blonde was contemplating something. I guess it's curiosity. Sorry for being weird about it. I just wanted to know how you dealt with it. I wonder if you'll have me fighting bandits or something, so I just thought I'd be prepared for whatever, Naruto said, and while Jiraiya could see the small logic in Naruto's thinking, he was still concerned, though against his better judgment he decided to tell Naruto. For me it didn't go well. I really thought low of myself to kill someone. It was back when I was a genin like you. I cried and cursed myself. I even stopped eating for about 5 days. Luckily Sarutobi-sensei and Tsunade helped me deal. Orochimaru tried, but he wasn't the comforting type, but he told me in his own way. They just reminded me that this was a part of my job and it came with the responsibility. As long as I don't find the joy in it, then I'm still human, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded like he had just affirmed something for himself. Jiraiya saw the small smile on Naruto's face, and the sight of it made the man's heart lighten a little. He then spotted the seal on Naruto's right hand and gazed at it. It looked very complex and powerful. Even he, with all his knowledge on Fuinjutsu, didn't know what type of seal it was. Hey Naruto, what's that seal on your hand? Jiraiya asked. Naruto mentally gulped and cursed that he didn't have the common sense to try and hide the damn thing. Of course people would ask him where he got something like this. Who wouldn't? Even Sakura asked what it was, and she normally didn't take any interest in what Naruto did. The blonde looked at his seal, his connect to the Shinigami, the god of death. Oh, this is a storage seal that someone made for me. They said that it could help me with my training. It's supposed to keep my other chakra from getting too wild and allowing me to control it better, Naruto said, hoping that was enough to get by. Jiraiya looked at the blonde intently, and Naruto tried his hardest to look calm so that Jiraiya would buy it. He mentally gulped and was about to break down, but luckily for him Jiraiya stopped and turned to the road. That's one nicely made seal. For me to not even know it must be something good. Well, we'll see about during your training, Jiraiya said, and Naruto accepted that. He could pass this off, but it made the blonde burn into his mind that he needed to get his right hand covered. It didn't matter with what, but it just needed to be covered at the moment. Close call, huh, brat? Kyuubi asked, snickering since he watched the scene in front of his container's eyes. He could almost laugh his heart out when he saw that. Meanwhile, Naruto grumbled at his tenant. That wasn't funny, furball. I thought I was gonna get found out for a second. Man, that was scary, Naruto said, mentally making Kyuubi giggle. So are you finally going to stop acting like a wimp and kill somebody, or are you still worried about that? Kyuubi asked, and Naruto looked at the ground. He wasn't sure if he was still alright with killing someone, but for his parents, he would do anything. He was sure that he would have a tough time dealing with it, but he was sure that he could work it out. He was Naruto Uzumaki, he never backed down. Sure, he was unsure about it, but he thought it would be right. He could only hope that when his parents were brought back then they would feel the same way. He then widened his eyes and looked at Jiraiya with a sigh. Ero Sannin, do you think we could go shopping also? I need some new clothes, Naruto said, and Jiraiya stopped walking. Naruto stopped a bit in front of him and raised an eyebrow. Ero Sannin? Naruto asked, and immediately the blonde was brought into a hug. I knew you weren't a lost cause, kid. You're damn right, we'll go shopping and get you out of that damn orange monstrosity you call clothing. I can't believe you finally see the light, Jiraiya said, crying, and Naruto's sweat dropped. Oh come on, was orange really that bad that Jiraiya had to cry tears of joy that Naruto was changing his attire? I still want some orange in it no matter what you think. Orange is cool and I like it, Naruto yelled, and Jiraiya sighed before setting the blonde down. Deal, kid. This might be a good trip after all. Let's hurry, the first town is still quite a ways away. We'll be there by nightfall if we hurry, Jiraiya said, picking up the pace. Naruto nodded and ran after his sensei with a simple smile on his face. Otafukagai Homely Woman Town. Naruto and Jiraiya had just made it to their first stop for the day. It was the same town where Naruto had met Itachi for the first time. It still brought back memories of the time he saw Sasuke get crushed by his brother like the Uchiha was nothing to him. It was that same Itachi who killed his entire clan and made Sasuke the person he was, even though Sasuke had a part in that himself. The sun was still high in the sky for Naruto, so they were still making some good time. He wondered why Jiraiya wanted to stop here, but he got his answer when he saw Jiraiya's perverse giggling while he dashed off to the nearest brothel he could find, leaving Naruto to his own devices. Ed, old man, Naruto said in thought. Immediately after registering them, Jiraiya shot off. It was a sad day to be the apprentice of the Toad Sage for Naruto Uzumaki. Having placed his things on the floor next to his bed, Naruto got up and stretched his legs for a bit. He had been walking for quite a while and his feet were killing him, but he did have other things on his mind at the moment. Naruto looked at the seal on his right hand and sighed. It really wasn't that simple after all, was it? Sigh, even if I do call the Shinigami for my parents, I doubt he knows them specifically from all the souls he has. The only ones who probably even have a hint about it are Tsunade Bachan, since she's the Hokage, and possibly Ero Sannin, since he knows just about everything that goes on in Konoha. Man, I should have asked Tsunade Bachan about it before we left. I wouldn't have put it past Gigi to know who my parents were also. I wonder why they won't tell me. Granted, I never really asked, but still, Naruto thought. He knew nothing about his mother or father other than the fact that they lived in Konoha and that they loved him a lot. He didn't know if they were shinobi or civilian. He knew next to nothing, but that's why he was so excited. To get to know his parents, what child didn't want that? Would you stop complaining and do it already, man? You can't make up your damn mind. I would do it in a heartbeat, Kyuubi said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. I don't know anything about them. How do I know if Shin can bring them back if I'm not specific? Naruto asked, and the Kyuubi sighed. So ask him. He said you could summon him twice a day, so do it. Man, you're so damn irritating with your whole I want my parents back, but killing people is bothering me thing, Kyuubi said, and Naruto sighed. Well, sorry for not being a heartless fox demon that could kill everyone in a matter of seconds, Naruto said, and Kyuubi snarled. You better be lucky I'm in this cage, brat, or I'd kill you where you stood, Kyuubi spoke, making Naruto roll his eyes. Whatever, furball, Naruto said before the two cut their argument short. The blonde bit his left arm and traced the blood across the seal. Kuchios no Jutsu, Naruto yelled out, and immediately the light shined again, making the blonde cover his eyes from the light. Naruto looked around for his summon again, but didn't see him. He was about to curse, but then remembered the last time. Naruto quickly turned around and grinned when he saw Shin right behind him, like he thought. You're not sneaking up on me this time, Naruto said, and the Shinigami looked at the blonde with its gazing stare on him. Well, you certainly picked an interesting time to summon me. Now you can only summon me one more time for today, so what do you want? Shin asked with his arms folded. What's wrong with you? Naruto asked, and Shin sighed. He really had nothing wrong with him, and he didn't mind being summoned by Naruto in the least. Sorry, I've really got no reason. Maybe it's that I don't like being summoned for just a casual conversation, the Shinigami said to the blonde. Naruto nodded and stood to his feet and rubbed the back of his head. It's not for casual conversation, Shin. I actually have a question about the resurrection thing that you said I could do, Naruto told him. Shin raised an eyebrow and nodded while waiting for his summoner to tell him what it was. Alright, what do you want to know? The Shinigami asked. Naruto nodded and looked at the ground for a second before turning back to the Shinigami. When I ask for you to revive someone, do I have to be specific? I figured that with all the souls you have then you wouldn't know who I wanted if I just asked, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded. That was a good question that Naruto asked as far as the Shinigami knew, and who was he to deny his summoner an answer? Well, I can keep track of all the souls. But if you want someone specific then a name does help my search just in the very slim chance that I get it wrong. Also some defining characteristics. But names are generally alright, Shin said, and Naruto knew it, and cursed. He didn't know either of his parents' names and that infuriated the blonde, but at least Shin told him so he could do the appropriate thing. Alright, if I ask you to revive someone then how long will I have to kill the 2 required people? Naruto asked. The Shinigami looked at him and raised an eyebrow before it thought over his question. At the most you have one of your human weeks. You only get 1 week, and if I don't have the 2 then I'll take the soul back. On the chance that you have one kill, but not the other, then you have a week and a half. So if you kill one person of the 2, but couldn't deliver the other to me then you get an extra 4 days, Kyuubi said, and Naruto widened his eyes. So he could do it that way. Alright, thank you, Shin. I'll summon you if I have anything else, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded, then began to fade into nothingness, leaving Naruto all alone in the room. Well, almost alone. Are you happy now? Sheesh, now get that toad sage to tell you about your parents. It's like you said, he's a Sannin, so he should know about you if he's willing to train you. There is no doubt that he knows who your parents are, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded in agreement with his bijou for once in his life. I suppose you're right. Guess I'll just have to ask him straight out, and hope for the best. I'll get him to talk, Naruto said with a grin while Kyuubi rolled his eyes. He had such a weird container. Nighttime, Naruto sighed as he waited for Jiraiya. The damn guy was taking so long to get back. Could he really spend that much time at a brothel and not come back? He must have been in broke by now. In all that time, Naruto was busy thinking about his parents the whole time. He had even tried to do the Rasengan with one hand instead of the clone, since using a clone took too much time, and he would need every second that he could use in a fight for his life. He had only a little success with it. He had left earlier to buy balloons for help, but that it was harder than he thought. He remembered when Jiraiya only did it with one hand. He didn't even use his other hand to handle the rotation of it. He really had mastered the Rasengan, even if he was a good-for-nothing. Naruto was currently working on his leaf exercise for the time being. He was actually making a new record for himself. He really didn't like this patient type of thing, but if he was going to get stronger then he would need to have better chakra control. However, it didn't take long for Naruto's concentration to be interrupted by the turning of a lock by a key, and the blonde turned to see Jiraiya coming through the door completely drunk. The blonde's sweat dropped as he watched Jiraiya giggle. Hee hee hick hey brat. Man, that hick girl was wonderful. You need a girl, Naruto, or you'll be a hick virgin for the rest of you hick life, hee hee, Jiraiya said with his voice completely slurred. Naruto sighed and stood to his feet. Man, you're drunk. I guess I'm not getting anything out of you today. Damn it, Kami hates me, Naruto said, grabbing Jiraiya. Hold it, brat. Kami might actually like you. I tell you, drunk people are open like a book. Try getting it out of him now. I doubt he'd remember it tomorrow anyway. Just try, and if it doesn't work then you'll just have to try something else, Kyuubi said, and Naruto squinted his face. Isn't that kind of taking advantage of him? Naruto asked, and Kyuubi held up one of his claws. Well, when you're a shinobi, you're supposed to take advantage of others' weaknesses. Second, I will give you a certain list. Your money, your time, your patience, no matter how little it is, and even though you didn't ask him, your parents. I think he's taken advantage of you enough, Kyuubi said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. He really hated it when Kyubi had his points. He knew he was right, and while Naruto wanted to disagree with that, he very well knew he couldn't. Alright, fine. I doubt this will work, but I'll try, Naruto said, and Kyubi nodded with a sly grin for its container. It's about time he started to show some talent as a shinobi. Naruto sighed and huffed as he trudged Jiraiya towards his bed. He told Sage was in heavy, but Naruto wasn't about to complain. He knew Kyubi was right. He was a shinobi, and to get information you had to do things that you didn't want to, and this was one of them. Naruto sat Jiraiya on the bed and backed away from him. Jiraiya looked completely buzzed that it made Naruto wonder if this would even work at all. Ero Sannin, who are my parents? Naruto asked him. It was short, sweet, and to the point. No beating around the bush at all for Naruto. Jiraiya giggled a little more for a few seconds and leaned up on the bed. Hee, wouldn't you like to hick no kid? I'll tell you, Minato and Kushina really broke the mold when they had you, Jiraiya said to him. Naruto widened his eyes when he heard their names. Minato and Kushina. Their names sounded so nice and very cool to Naruto. The blonde gulped and continued his actions. Who were they? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya leaned his head to the wall. Are you kidding, kid? Minato Namikaze was considered a genius shinobi. He was the Yondaime Hokage after all, Jiraiya said, talking about his student. Naruto's eyes shot open and the blonde dropped his jaw. His father was the Yondaime? The man he respected all his life was the one who put the Kyubi inside him? And Kushina Uzumaki, hee. She was such a firecracker. I tell ya, hick, sometimes I wondered who wore the pants in that relationship. She was a beauty, however. Nice long red hair, a slight tomboyish attitude, but still caring. The way she handled the sword was also amazing. It still makes me chuckle when I remember that she was called the Red Hick Death. Quite the looker she was. When she was younger, she had to beat some of the guys with a stick to stop asking her out. She was also unique in many ways. Her chakra was so amazing. She could use her chakra like chains. It was amazing, Jiraiya said, and immediately Naruto was interested. The way Jiraiya talked, it was like his mother was drop-dead gorgeous. He was, however, sad that he couldn't bring back his father. He remembered when Shin told him that he couldn't be brought back since he had used the Shiki Fujin technique. Naruto would have really liked to see his father. To talk with him, and his mother. To maybe punch his father in the face or stomach for sealing the Kyubi inside him. But he was just happy that he got to learn about them. Did they really love me? Naruto asked the drunken Jiraiya. The Toad Sage chuckled and looked at Naruto while patting him on the shoulder. Kid, they really did love you. When Minato wanted to make you a Jinchuriki, you should have seen Kushina's reaction. She went ballistic on him. Though why, I know. She was the Kyubi's previous Jinchuriki, Jiraiya said, and Naruto gasped. His mother was the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi before him? Did you know about that? Naruto asked. Kyubi snorted and rolled his eyes. Please, with how tight they made that damn seal, I didn't know anything. I had no idea who I was trapped inside. It could have been anybody for all I know, Kyubi said, and Naruto sighed. Alright, Ero Sannin, even though you're drunk, thanks for telling me. I doubt you'll remember this talk, Naruto said as he got up and left the room and turned out the light. Jiraiya giggled a little more, but before long that giggle dropped and Jiraiya gave a small smile along with softened eyes. I guess I played that off quite well. I didn't really want to tell him this early, but I guess he could at least know them. He's at least strong enough for now, and he's with me. I can only hope that he learns to keep his mouth shut about his family. Kami only knows what would happen if he starts talking, Jiraiya said to himself with a smile, his sober face looking more and more gentle as he looked at the moon. I'm sure you two would have wanted him to know also. I can only hope that he's good for training tomorrow, Jiraiya said before changing out of his clothes and going to sleep in his bed with Naruto. Naruto walked the streets of town and went over all that Jiraiya told him. He kept thinking back to his father and mother. The greatest Hokage of Konoha and the best Kenjutsu user of Konoha were both his parents. It was a lot to take in for the blonde. He wasn't sure whether to be happy or sad. Happy that his mother could be revived, happy that he knew his family, and happy that they loved him, but sad that his father was gone for good. he sealed the QB inside him and he hadn't been told about them until just now. "Yeah, no QB, I'm confused right now," Naruto said, and QB sighed. It knew that this was to be expected from just hearing what Naruto had just heard, so maybe it was like that. "I suppose I can understand, but you'd better be happy, brat." "Sheesh, just revived the woman already." "No doubt she wants to see you too," QB said, and Naruto nodded in agreement with that. "I suppose you're right." "Yeah, I can only hope she's not mad at me for what I'm about to do," Naruto said, and ran off from the town and deep into the woods. He still wasn't sure about the payment for his mother and her soul, but he'd do it. On that he knew that he would. He promised himself that he would. Naruto came into a secluded spot of the forest and looked around. QB told him that no one was there, and he was alright, which had the blonde confused. "Why are you helping me so much?" "Until a week ago we hated each other," Naruto said, and QB scoffed at his container. "Don't assume anything, brat, or get sentimental on me. I don't know why I'm helping you either. Maybe I'm just bored and need something interesting to happen," QB said, making sure Naruto understood. The blonde could only chuckle at his tenant, and nodded with his usual grin. "You mean a lot to me too, furball," Naruto said, and QB huffed. "Whatever, brat," QB responded, and Naruto bit his left thumb. This was the last time he could summon the Shinigami, so he had to make it count this time. Naruto traced his blood over the seal and yelled, "Kuchios no Jutsu!" Naruto yelled out, and the same blinding light made Naruto cover his eyes, and he immediately turned around to see Shin right behind him as always. 2 times in one day. "I didn't think you need me this much already." "Alright, what do you want now?" the Shinigami asked. Naruto gulped and felt nervous. He had never done this before, so it was all new to him. "Shin, I want to revive someone," Naruto said, and the Shinigami raised an eyebrow. He took his sword out of his mouth, and took the purplish beads in his hands and gripped them. "Wow, already? Alright, I was expecting it much sooner." "You are aware of the terms to our contract, right?" Shin asked, and Naruto immediately nodded that he was more than aware of what he was getting himself into. He wanted to see his mother, and he wanted her to see him. He was still nervous, but his resolve was absolute. "For every person I want you to revive, I must kill 2 people. One to fill the revived person's space and the next as compensation to you," Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded, glad that the blonde fully understood. "Good. You have 1 week to honor your side of the contract," the Shinigami said, and Naruto immediately nodded. The Shinigami pressed his beads together and rubbed them with his hands. Naruto watched him go through the process, and so did QB. The Shinigami drew his sword and wrapped it in the beads. "Who would you like to bring back from the dead?" the Shinigami asked. Naruto gulped again, but he quickly nodded and balled his fists. "My mother, Kushina Uzumaki. The woman with vibrant red hair, also known as the Red Death," Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded. His eyes glowed a white light and his sword glowed white also. Strange seals started to appear, and before long the entire area was covered in a blinding light. Naruto covered his eyes for a bit as he tried to see, but for all his life he couldn't. "The contract is made. Kushina Uzumaki is revived," the Shinigami said, and immediately disappeared. The light disappeared and the night reigned, only with the moon giving the light. Naruto opened his eyes and stared at the lovely woman in front of him. Naruto had to admit that Jiraiya wasn't kidding. Beautiful was an understatement for his mother. She was so gorgeous. Her vibrant red hair, her slender body. She was wearing a high-collared, sleeveless blouse under a long, loose-fitting pale, white skin that glowed in the moonlight, and amazing blue eyes. She was wearing some simple, purplish shinobi sandals. Kushina walked into the light, and came up to see a blonde with yellow hair and whisker marks. She wasn't sure what was going on, but she knew one thing. That was her son. Only her son had whisker marks on his face. She gently smiled at the shocked expression on his face as she stepped into the moonlight for Naruto to see, and she got a good look at him before giving a small smile. "Hello, Naruto-kun. It's your mother." Naruto continued to stare at his mother. Part of his mind couldn't believe it. Kushina,